All right. Howdy, howdy, everyone. Sorry for the delay there, a few technical difficulties. If you're watching this live, then thank you for hanging with us until we can get things sorted out. But we are pretty much good to go here on SpeedGaming 3. Shimbobby, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing well, Woat. Thanks for asking. How are you?
I'm doing pretty solid. I am excited to see how this is going, if only because of PapaFoiz making the bold play to just say, I am going to go two-man and no one can stop me.
Yeah, we had a lot of discussion pregame about how these blessings were going to work out with these teams, and I'm glad that we're seeing quite the diversity here. This is going to be quite an interesting match.
Yeah, the blessings are really interesting for tonight. So the fighter is going to have the ability to learn level 1 white spells and should have 2 casts per rest before class changing. The red mage has the ability to equip the katana. The black belt is rocketing a plus 40 strength. Black mages can throw the Excalibur on, and white mages get an extra 40 HP. If you're thinking, well, what about the Maza? Stop thinking about the Maza. You ain't seeing it tonight. These runners have opted to turn the Maza off.
But you know what they will see, Woat?
A war mech.
They will, and it is our mascot for the Spring Tournament 2021 here, and always glad to see him, but it'll certainly make that Bridge of Destiny just a little bit brighter.
I mean, it makes sense that war mech it would be the unofficial mascot. Comedy is basically something bad happening to someone else, and there's not much worse than war mech.
I love when the theme of a tournament is Schadenfreude. That would be...
the theme of every Final Fantasy Randomizer tournament is Schadenfreude. Come on.
That's true. All right, and it looks like we're off already.
So, Rojo opting off the bat to murder the dancer for no reason.
Got a decent sweeper. Fire 3, gonna probably pick up Break and Lock 2 there.
Yeah, no, that is a solid black magic spell list, and then that Cure 4 is... and Soft. I would pick up both the Cure 4 and the Soft on that fighter just to have them available.
Yeah, certainly useful. Fighter probably going to be staying alive most of the time, we'd hope. Especially in two-man party, and Softs are rolling pretty costly, so it's just nice to get that out there in case something early has a stone touch.
Yeah, and it looks like we've got a group of raiders from SpeedGaming 4 joining us right at the outset of this race. Thank y'all for coming with us on this.
Oh boy. I'm wasting no time. Quad X. This is going to be a fun one.
For the folks who keep track of this sort of thing at home, yes, Danny rolled this seed.
I wasn't going to say it.
Oh,
Danny, please don't roll mine.
she does it. I'll roll it for you.
All right, Papa makes it to the temple just behind Same encounters here. Rewarded with a low amount of gold.
And for the record, for the folks wondering, yes, that runner's name is Rojo and not Rojo. He just likes to be difficult.
Ooh, a ribbon off the bat. This black belt doesn't need to check a single chest other than for incentive items now.
Yeah. So, while both runners are kind of getting to their first set of key items, let's kind of talk a little bit about the difference in strategy for what they're doing. Because they are taking two very different approaches to this.
Right, so there was a question in chat around why there were two nuns on PapaFoiz's side, if you'd like to take that one.
Okay, so in Final Fantasy I, experience is divided among all living party members. So, you have a set amount of XP that each enemy is worth, and that gets dumped into a pool, and that pool gets split up among everyone you have standing. So a common strategy is what we call a two-man strat. So more common than that is danning, where you kill one party member, so you're splitting your XP 3 ways, you speed up your XP gain by 1/3. Danning's big brother is the two-man strat. Ooh, we've got a canal and TNT. I guess we're going to go see the dwarves. So basically what PapaFoiz is doing is he is doubling the rate of his party members' experience gain by having half the party members he could have. Which, as you can see, has already gotten him level 3. I think Rojo might only be looking at level 2 on his party at this point.
He's actually got 4s because 2 of his members also passed away.
Okay, never mind then.
But I'm sure he's going to be bringing those back, right? Because a black belt is looking to get the levels here. In any black belt party, you're pretty much taking support characters. And that black belt is going to be hopefully not so glass, but definitely a cannon.
Yeah, Papa is definitely looking less at the, concentrate all the XP into one punchy muscle man, and more in the direction of, let's have 2 characters who are going to be fairly buff. He might, if the going gets tough, kill that red mage off to feed experience into that fighter, but by and large, I'd say he's probably planning to mostly keep these 2 roughly on parity, just because he has such a lower buffer than Rojo does.
Here at 423, we get our first taste of the bridge boss. Of course, very shortened credit sequence. Rojo making a play here that I really do like, that early Matoya check for some extra money, maybe an item or 2 that will come in handy. And Thor Hammer and 25,000
gold. Yeah, okay.
Rewards that play. We get some sweeper magic that we can keep on that black belt, and now we can start killing off those mages. And there's our quad items again.
I think he'll keep the mages alive for a while yet, just because... So, that black belt did roll plus 40 strength, but the black belt's punching actually does not use strength in calculating its damage. So, he's gonna need those mages for damage-ring purposes, unless he, stops in a weapon shop and sees if he can find nunchucks for that black belt or something like that.
Life 2.
Ooh, Life 2.
Farm 4. And this is learnable by that red mage at level 2. Everything is available, so
yeah, and
decisions.
Yeah, and that if Papa finds that tail, that knight is also going to be really happy about where Life 2 landed. So that is one thing that Papa's going to have over Rojo. In spite of having only 2 characters, both of his characters will be able to cast that Life 2.
It's true, and with the level 2 warp, this is going to make it a really interesting, give them both a really interesting ability to dive marsh and ice early if they want to stay on the inner sea. Or if they go outside, Ordeals is definitely a play now that's available to them. With a little more ease than it would have otherwise been.
Well, they first have to find the ship, and that's not guaranteed to not be an ice.
That is true. Haven't seen it yet myself.
Well, we're about to see what the pirates have for us. And it is a bottle. Alright, so, bare minimum, we still have the TNT, so we might be heading over to Dwarves to see what we can find there. Don't know how you build a ship out of explosives, but there you go.
Certainly can't find it in that bottle, unfortunately. Although maybe the pirate is a hobbyist. Who knows?
So, remember how I said it might be advisable for Papa to pick up that soft on that knight? Or on that fighter?
I do.
Yeah. This would be why. Softs are very expensive, as you pointed out, and especially in the early game. Even if soft rolls friendly on its price, you usually still can't afford one at the beginning of the game. So, that early access to soft, especially when there's not really a lot else, that would have been worth the pickup. But Papa does have that Thor's hammer, so he'll be able to clear out the pirates no problem, and then head back to Canaria and get a soft one way or another.
True, and Rojo making an interesting play towards Crescent here. kind of not taking into account that he has a
Not
TNT, or at least
Crescent.
holding
Not
on to it.
Crescent.
Oh, Ice Cave right away. Definitely thought he was going for the free item there.
I like it.
It's cheeky, but those you got the 2 warp casts if he gets a good dive.
So Rojo and Papa are both fairly experienced runners. They've been around for a while. Papa a little longer, I'd say a year or 2 longer than Rojo, but both of them have seen their share of tournaments, and they know what kinds of things an experienced runner is capable of. Rojo, I think, is basically making the play of PapaFoiz is generally not the kind of person that's going to go for the cheeky ice play. He comes from a generation of Final Fantasy I randomizer runner who's going to favor a little more conservative play, and let's just face it, this is not a good play in terms of just like, you have 3 mages and a black belt who isn't even the double digits level-wise yet. You've got that Fire 2, and you've got Zap. Or Fire 3, and you've got Zap. But you don't have a lot of shots of those, and I didn't see how pricey houses were.
Well, he does have 2 houses in his inventory. It looks like... Yeah. I thought he was originally trying to burn off an encounter to go for a deeper dive, but he seems to be wanting to gain a couple of levels in ice before actually tackling it.
Yeah, no, I think that's the right move. And that Thor Hammer gives him a chance to pull that. Turn order not favoring the bold. Papa, however, is going to... did we already see those chain armors?
We did.
Okay, so you already picked up those... Silver +5, okay. So anyway, Papa has a weapon that he's going to be carrying possibly the rest of the game. Ice 3 is going to be available for his Red Wizard, that's nice.
Alright, so we got some levels, we're going to house up. Is he ready to go in?
What level has he gotten up to? 8, 9?
8-ish, yeah. It's dicey.
You are basically counting on your black mages staying alive, and I'm not sure I like that gamble. Like, even if you are running from everything, and you've got 2 black mages to increase your chances of running...
Well, we do have our life caster with an extra 40 health. Might be able to sneak their way through.
You might. This is one of those plays that if it works out for Rojo, if, say, the incentive item is in those first 3 chests, then he can probably sneak out of here with those warp charges he has. Because he had 2 when he got here on each of those black mages, and it's probably 3 or 4 at this point. So he may be able to make the cheeky play, get out of here, he just has to get down the 3 floors.
Then over on Papa's side, I think going into Elflin now, gonna check some... Nope, I think he thinks he wants to res that red wizard, the red mage, but... That's a clone mage, and Temper and Fast at level 3.
Temper and Fast at level 3, that's good for Papa, because that is definitely accessible to his red mage, no questions asked. That is really strong for Rojo, though.
That sends a message to a black belt player, like, hey, I only need my mages to get off some level 3 casts here, so we don't need to take them much higher.
I mean, you're going to need to take them higher because they're going to die horrifically if they're not the white mage.
Hey, as long as they get a fast off on a 42 black belt, that's all you need them for.
The black belt has to live that long. So, today we have the world's laziest physician.
Fighter.
Ah, yes, the rare herb that can save our prince. If only I could find it. If only there was some way to obtain it. Oh, I would so love to embrace the heroes that could bring the herb to me.
So Papa taking advantage of that ship that he found from the sages, and turning in that TNT now. So we're going to see what the dwarves have for us.
Yeah. And for those of you playing along at home who are wondering, no, you didn't miss them finding the canoe. The canoe and the bridge are free in this flag set. And that TNT turned into a loot. So,
Necessary, but not
Rojo,
quite yet.
yeah, Rojo's play looking a little bit better right now. Just because we now know, like, and it's the Q. So that is not immediate progression.
No, it's not, but it's certainly something that's going to frustrate Papa if he finds that chime and maybe he doesn't have a floater. He's going to need to come back for ice, and that never feels good.
Yep. All right, and there is that warp everything out. So, PapaFoiz returned to Canaria. Hopefully remembers that he can put soft on that fighter, and he is just going to go buy a soft potion instead. He's got the money. I guess I can accept that, but I am also cheap. Alright, so PapaFoiz has a red mage again. The fights he got into with all of that has definitely given his fighter some good experience. I haven't seen what level he's up to yet.
I think it's around 12 right now.
I think you're right. I think I did see a 12 on his screen, so...
Enough money for that herb now. I'm going to turn that right into the prince, see what we got here.
Yeah.
And Rojo making a play into Volcano, probably checking for a grind tile here. Greeted with double red dragons. Good experience, bad damage. So let's see what they do for us here.
Yeah, that Brack is just not going to be very helpful. Dragons, like the dragon class of enemies, have some of the highest magic defense in the entire game. So unless you are hitting them with something they are vulnerable to, magic, not necessarily the best approach, I feel like.
And on Papa's side, the prince, our sleeping prince, was holding on to a key. So he's going to check in Corneria.
Papa immediately continuing down the rabbit hole. The thing is at this stage, there's nothing he can find that he's not going to like.
There's the chime, the second half to that equation going into Mirage.
Yeah. So, Rojo will have Mirage access as soon as he follows this chain all the way through. But depending on how he's playing out this volcano, like, I'm assuming that he is going to just dip Armory and then dip, but...
Xcal +5 on a Black Mage. Looks real nice. Papa's gonna hope that he finds that.
It's an Armory, he'll see it.
Depends on, I think, when he gets the floater as to whether or not he's going to make those checks down in Volcano and Ice. And if he's too late into the seed, he might just go mode it. So we'll see how he comes back to the last inner seed checks.
But yeah, Rojo is definitely going to not necessarily see a great deal of advantage, because an Xcal +5 is still being swung by a Black Mage. And, yeah, it turns out that even with egregious stats, Black Mages still suck at hitting things.
Yes. Not exactly their intended role here.
Their weak, spindly arms just don't do too terribly much, even with the greatest sword ever forged.
Nothing like those beefcake arms on our black belt.
Yeah, but, you know. You take what you can get.
We do, and Papa's going to try to take something out of Marsh Cave now. I like this play. I mean, he's got the levels now. He's got the confidence. It's really one of the few places he can go.
Well, yeah, it's one of those things. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. We know that it's going to have something that he wants here. Whether that's an item or a key, like an incentive item. He's going to want something out of this cave because we've got the ship, we've got the canal, right? So,
yeah.
So we know that even if this is a tail, which is something that Rojo wouldn't want to find, Papa's going to be thrilled about it. He's going to want to promote there.
Yeah. So, I guess we need to probably mention how incentive items work in these flags. One of the options that we have enabled for this tournament is the ability to basically set the incentive item to appear in any chest in its associated dungeon. Normally, the way that the Final Fantasy Randomizer has worked for years is if you incentivize a chest, it is the chest that in the vanilla game in that dungeon had something important. Your floater chest, your slab chest, your adamant chest, etc., etc. So this option basically changed it. So it's like having a loose item, an item that's not an incentive chest, but you know where your items are loose. So you know there's only going to be one incentive item in Earth. You know there's only going to be one incentive item in Ice. You just don't know what chest it's going to be in. Except Earth is a bad example. Earth is not incentivized in these flags. But it was the first dungeon I could think of.
And if I'm not mistaken, I believe that was a feature brought to us by our tracker, who is also a developer, Wildham.
Yeah, Wildham is very... it's one of those things, every feature I know of that he's worked on has been something really neat, although he is correcting us in our notes.
Retro fan man.
That retro fan
that
man.
correction, but yeah, Wildham, you've been doing an amazing job on all of these updates.
Yeah, so... yeah, the randomizer, for the record, is an open source project. You know, it's got some coordination, but ooh, that's a tasty sword right there.
So Papa's not going to need to find that Excal. He'll still be happy with it, I'm sure. But he's got a sword that's going to take him straight to chaos if he needs to.
Yeah, so between that Excal and... ooh, there's our second ribbon.
Second ribbon.
So, Papa's set on... not quite set on armor, but looking really good on armor. But, yeah. What I was just saying is, like... the randomizer... basically, if you want to contribute to it, the door is open. And that's produced a lot of really interesting features over the years. Alright, it's the upper right-hand chest. I can't remember if that's linked to anything.
I don't believe it is.
Okay.
Or if it is, it's one of the key-locked rooms, and that's not going to be incentivized.
Good old trance. Good old stupid non-elemental trance.
Because it goes through 2 ribbons. We're just going to watch them kneel.
Oh, it doesn't go through ribbons, it just steps aside from them. Non-elemental magic, unlike most Final Fantasies, is stupidly strong in Final Fantasy 1.
Doesn't care how pretty your hair is. We get a ruby. Now, depending on where the floater lands, this could be a dud. It could be the best thing to happen to Papa right now. So we're probably gonna make that start a check pretty early.
I imagine that he's going to want to... he's not going to complain about getting to check those 4 spare chests and Titans. He's got good swords. And we know that he is almost certainly going to bump into a better sword if he dips armory. But his armor could still stand to be used. In any case, though, Rojo has his chime, and with that, he does have access to Mirage and the floating fortress. So I kind of we haven't seen Nuke yet.
Yeah, but having found the chest item, it kind of disincentivizes the western half of the northern continent. So I'm thinking we're probably going to see an Ordeals out of them soon, but I wouldn't mind if Rojo goes to the desert here, does a little grind, maybe stops by Mirage Tower.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking about. I think I'd want to see, if I'm in Rojo's shoes, what 5th level Black has. If there's a nuke at level 5 Black magic, I would probably go the route of dive Ordeals, head straight for Mirage. You can do a lot of damage in Mirage with the higher level Black magic spells. But not as much damage as instantly killing someone with Power Word Kill does.
And he's right back with that life too. Trap Tile, Chimera. That's not a bad one. Not the best one, but it's not a bad one. See how they roll. Silence.
Punchy. And a Mute Touch, if I'm not mistaken. I don't think I saw a Mute spell come out of that.
Yeah, no, that was definitely a touch effect.
Yeah, so you're probably sitting there thinking right now, Mute Touch? What enemy in Final Fantasy I has Mute Touch? None of them. But the hooks do exist in the code for an enemy to have Mute Touch, and I believe it was Leggy Starscream who introduced both the randomize touch abilities and the ability to have Mute Touch into the randomizer, which is a flag we have on. Randomized touch attacks, basically, instead of shuffling around touch attacks, it instead goes, okay, one enemy out of all the enemies in the game has a death touch. And 1 or 2 enemies have, X touch. So we're just going to take all the enemies in the game, and for each of them we're going to roll the dice to see if they have no touch attack or a touch attack, and then roll the odds on which touch attack they have. And on average, that will produce exactly, that'll produce roughly the same number of touch attacks in roughly the same proportions. Sure, it can lead to situations where you have, 10 enemies with death touch. But why did you turn the flag on if you didn't want the possibility of a marsh cave where everything death touches?
Here we have Wolves with Sleep Touch. Was that one with Stone Touch too? I missed that. But anyway, on Papa's side, Sarda gave us our tail. So Papa's happy to promote as soon as he gets that floater. Rojo found the jingle. So for those of you concerned, what the heck is a jingle? I didn't see that before. That is one of our fun flags where Princess Sarah's instrument can turn into any one of, I believe there's 50 or so.
Yeah.
And so the jingle here is taking the place of our lute, and so we are going to jingle all the way to 2,000 years in the past once we get back into the Temple of Fiends with all the orbs lit.
Yeah. And out of the Titan's Cave, we did also see the Zeus Gauntlet pop up on Papa's side. Not going to be very good for defense. I believe it is a -2 piece of armor in this seed, but it still is another source of Lit 2, along with that Thor hammer. And I do not believe Papa is going to complain about having plenty of Lit 2 to go around. I'm going to go ahead and try and get some experience off of these bad men. Looking like they rolled... Yeah, that looks...
High on damage.
Yeah, that looked like it was maybe 120, 130 HP.
We could find a nuke there. I wouldn't mind taking that grind a little bit. Rojo's going to get the news that the Papa probably found a decent weapon, if he didn't already have the X-Cow.
Yeah. And I think, based on what we've been seeing, does it look like we're using the A-side or the B-side tiles tonight?
Oh, we are definitely on B-sides.
That's what I was thinking, because I thought that, I don't think that there is a double dragon spike tile in the vanilla game.
No, certainly not arachnids. I believe we saw a shark and red say hags. So we have B-side tiles, and for those of you who don't know, there are trap tiles throughout the game, littered in front of treasure chests usually, of high import. And those trap tiles have been shuffled. So not only are their locations, their locations are static, but which encounters you get at which trap tile has been shuffled around, but also we've kind of flipped those around. So while sometimes we encounter the same vanilla traps but in different locations, now we have these alternate trap tiles, which have some really dud parties of enemies and some really great ones. So Black Belt loves to see B-side tiles because there is the potential for something like a triple eye roll or other high quality encounters, but you also sometimes get some duds. So.
Yeah, it's one of those things because because the A side and B side thing was basically just memory storage. There's no special significance that the developers assigned to those B-sides. It was just the encounters that they got to when they started using the other bits of memory. So, yeah, you get some dud encounters because sometimes it's just the B-side of the imps from the beginning of the game. Which is just another encounter you can get into in one of the early game zones.
So Papa finally making his way over to Ordeals, having a fairly innocuous time through the pillars. Ooh, making two correct choices right off the bat. Trap tile check, gas dragon.
Ooh.
That is a nice one if they roll low. Ooh, they did not. Two swings from that Sun +5 is probably going to take him down. I wouldn't be mad if he took this tile a little bit further.
Yeah. I mean, even when this is a vanilla spike tile, I don't complain about hitting it just to see how the mud golems rolled. Just in case they're a soft target. Papa, I don't think, actually checked the chest, which... not sure that was the,
most prudent decision.
But he does have he does have casts of Fast and Temper available, so... the good news is his fighter will probably survive this.
I would have gone with Cure 4 on that fighter. Here it is. A little too late.
Yeah. Well, the good news is he knows that it's not going to take a lot to get back to those gas dragons. You do need exit to land... Oh no, we have exit level 3. In slot 2, that might not be accessible to PapaFoiz.
No, I believe 2 and 4 are not night or red learnable.
Yeah, so that's going to be a bit unfortunate, but he may have enough shots of warp to where he could dip in here later, murder gas dragons until his eyes bleed, and then just warp back out and keep moving.
So at that point, I'm not sure where he's taking this party. Maybe mid to high 20s, low 30s at best. So he's probably keeping them both up for that grind. I don't think it'll be too unsafe if he wanted to walk out. On Rojo's side, where are we going here? Checking back.
Oh, never mind. That's going to be very easy to get out. Because that is grind on your gas dragons and then just go upstairs.
So let's hope that this trap tile is also kind to Papa so we can see what incentive Ordeals holds for us. Rojo about to make the trip to Titan to turn in that ruby to go to Sarda to find out that he's got the most useless rat's tail. Because Rojo does not want to see that.
Yeah, Rojo definitely not going to be pleased there.
It is an extra 5% on his experience, though, so it's not the worst news in the world. Here he's going to find his Zeus Gauntlet in that 4th chest. We have Gurmedusas in Ordeals. That's a nice encounter.
Yeah, that is a much safer grind than those gas dragons, it looks like. I mean, Will Cleosis in chat might disagree, but that's just because of some lingering trauma.
I did see that clip earlier, and that would have been traumatic. But these ones don't appear to have Blaze or Death Touch. They just appear to look at you with a couple of snakes. Ooh, that is a very safe, very, very fruitful grind.
Oh yeah, especially with it being on this tile. So, the interior rooms in Final Fantasy I, the bottommost set of tiles, you cannot get into encounters on. That is just because of the interplay of tiles that have special graphical properties, and the way that the encounter system works. But the long and short of it is, PapaFoiz will only see this Germedusa fight until he gets sick of seeing it. Which, he may just go ahead and do all of his grinding right here.
I'm kind of hoping he does, because I don't think he's going to find easier and better. These things are hitting like wet noodles.
12 hits and none of them matter.
Rojo making his way back out from Titan East. Let's see where he's headed. No rod, so Earth does not make sense here as a play because there's no incentive, and he can't get down to Lich quite yet. But he is going to check the grind tiles.
Yeah.
He will find out the bad news that they are large group encounters.
Well, he's a little bit better equipped to deal with those. So, here is something interesting for folks who are familiar with the vanilla game. You're probably looking at these encounters and going, huh, that's funny. I thought the Hall of Giants was just that one fight. Why am I seeing two different encounters? As it turns out, and we only discovered this once we actually randomized spike tiles, these forced encounters, there are actually two different encounters in the Hall of Giants. That just happen to both point to the same formation. So you actually have the option of checking for two different spike tiles in that Hall of Giants area. And it's one of those things, I think it was known before then, but no one thought about it until we actually we could change what encounters were there. And realize they were not linked.
So now I'm curious where Rojo goes. Based on that westward turn, I'm going to assume he's going to do that desert play that we were talking about earlier. Maybe hunt for some encounters off the hard reset, or make a cheeky check into Mirage, because he does have that cube, so he can check every chest for that incentive item.
Yeah. Based on his play so far, I wouldn't be surprised if he just heads straight for Mirage. I don't know if I would feel comfortable with this spell list doing the Mirage play. But...
So, the issue here that I will remind chat as well, we have a forced war mech. So he's not making it through to Tiamat at such a low level without something getting through that.
I mean, he could luck out and that blue dragon tile could be delicious. But yeah, I don't think he necessarily has the firepower to make a walking grind of this, to go ahead and just take every fight he can, walk out, save, heal up, go back in. Just because Sky has a lot of high magic defense enemies, and he just doesn't really have a lot of spells that'll hit those vulnerabilities. The best he can hope for, actually, is if the vampires on Mirage 2 are a relatively frequent encounter, because he does have that Fire 3 available on his Black Mages, so he could make the cheeky play, go up to Mirage 2, get those vampire fights, build up some levels, and, then maybe find something to easily kill his mages with, which will not be hard. It's the Sky Dungeon.
And Rojo reminding us that Black Mage has an Excalibur +5 being swung. Knocking out one of our sandwiches right away.
I actually did forget about the Excalibur, so okay. That's gonna be good enough. Like, if he can find anything of value, he's in good shape. Speaking of value, PapaFoiz, level 28, I think, on that fighter, and
Ooh,
probably that
okay.
red mage is looking at a 25, 27, okay.
See, I'm considering giving that opal bracelet to my fighter there. Just keep him up.
I think that in Papa's opinion, his fighter's defense is 550 HP.
That is true. He does have quite an HP lead. He's looking pretty solid shape here. Depending on where he's going, he's still got a bottle and a slab that can't be turned in, so we know Floater is pretty close to us. We know that Mirage is available to check by the boat, so hopefully Rojo will give us a taste of that key item. And we'll see if Papa goes west to Onrak and checks the waterfall.
He's almost certainly going to on-rack, I think. Or he's going to not. He may be making the Ice Cave play now. He's not afraid of anything in Ice Cave at this point. He's got 2 ribbons. He's got he's above level 25 on both of his party members. He's got the firepower, and he's got the weapons.
He's definitely making it through if that's where he's going. It's just unfortunate that he's going to have to travel pretty much the length of the Earth to go there, and then going to find out that it's not really getting him where he wants to be. Yeah,
but that cube will probably push him in the right direction, unless... I mean, the possibility still exists that our floater is at Waterfall. So, if Rojo doesn't find the floater here, then, Papa is a waterfall play away from being in the air. And if he does go to Sky, he's in a much better position to actually finish Sky.
Right. What I'd really like to see from Papa is once he gets this cube, if he doesn't just dip straight for Mirage, if he actually finishes off Carry, and then jumps back into his boat. He's already in the area.
Yeah, it's gonna come down to if he wants to light an orb, or if he wants to start hunting for that key item. And as we can see, he's already high enough level to where wizards are occasionally fleeing from him. So I don't remember the exact mechanics of Final Fantasy I's morale system, but the long and short of it is, the game looks at what level your lead character is. Is it your lead character, or is it anyone in your party?
It is your lead character, because that's going to be a strategy that Rojo might want to employ once he starts his black belt grind, is to move him down out of the first slot so that enemies aren't so scared.
Yeah. So yeah. Basically, all enemies have a morale stat, which gets run through some calculations. Go look up Astral Esper's algorithm guide if you want to know the specifics. But the end result is you have basically a check that every enemy makes to decide, how scared am I of these people? And the answer is often very. At higher levels. And I'm sure that most folks who are interested in the Final Fantasy I Randomizer have also seen what happens when 4 white mages confront chaos, and you are using a TAS. So morale.
Fighters and still taking that fight, because a lot of good experience, and they're nothing to him now.
Yeah. Morale, is a very, interesting mechanic. One of the options in the randomizer is to randomize morale as well. It's not normally turned on because at some point, I can't remember when, I believe we had a race wherein Chaos just got scared away. Because someone had ground their black belt to 50, and Chaos had rolled low morale. A little less climactic than you might have wanted. So Papa, unlike Rojo, not afraid of anything in Ice Cave, is going to dig out the rest of the goodies just to see if he finds anything nice.
Rojo appears to have found the tile that he likes. He's going to go with these mages and this fighter.
I don't hate it.
I don't either, but he didn't find that incentive item yet in Mirage Tower, so we know that it's in Sky. So he's probably looking to keep Slappin' Black alive, so that at least he can get out.
Yeah. Well, and this is what I was saying. If that blue dragon tile turned out to be something useful, then Rojo can still finish Sky on this check. Alright, Papa has decided he doesn't care what's in those other 4 boxes. He cares about not running into any more R bones, probably. Demon Frog in chat, following up on my mention of the whole chaos thing, that chaos running away from level 50 black belt was without exferring and fearing him. That was just his vanilla morale was so low that a high enough level character could do the job. I think we've also had a couple of challenge seeds that also played on the low morale stat play, but for tournament purposes, it's generally disfavored to modify to randomize morale just to avoid situations like that.
So Rojo trying to pop a tent as soon as he gets into the Sky Castle. Sorry, it might be in outer space, but it is not outside. But he is rewarded immediately with an eye. So that's kind of nice, but he did finish his grind, and now he's looking for that key item. Hopefully we will see, as you mentioned, him actually completing this. I'd love to see him bump into our robot buddy.
Yeah. Papa heading straight to Mirage.
Gonna have a little bit easier of a time.
So I have to I have to assume for Papa, the reasoning here is I made the decision to double back and do Ice Cave instead of making that play over to Waterfall that I could have made. At this point, if my floater is at Waterfall and my opponent didn't go to Mirage, I am behind. So I just need to commit to the Mirage play and count on it working out.
I'm not even convinced that it's a desperation play at this point, because you know that it has to be either the floater or the Oxyel. And so either one of them he is going to welcome. And if he sees that it's the Oxy, he can just go to Sea Shrine, know that he's in go mode at that point, right? He's got the key and the loot. So he doesn't really need to do anything else if this is an Oxyel. And if this is the floater, he knows that the Waterfall is going to have his Oxy. Well, actually, he does have the slab and the bottle checks, which is leading me to believe that this is probably going to get the art floater in the Sky Castle.
Yeah. Yeah, I could see this just... Yeah, that is the other side of this. This is also just the logical play based on what he's seen so far. And if it's the Oxy, then he doesn't have to go to Waterfall. But I do have to think, like, there is that factor of just, you know, I gambled on Ice Cave having what I needed, and it had something I needed, but not what I was hoping for. So we'll have to ask him, you know, what led to him, you know, kind of not going to Waterfall after Ordeals. And it probably did boil down to, I don't have Oxyale, I only want to make one trip to On-Rack.
Right, without the shop item being a possibility there, I mean, because that's usually the draw to going to the Northern Continent without an Oxyale, is to say, you know what, I've got the caravan, I've got On-Rack to check, but he's already got the herb from Elfland. So Waterfall is really only a single check, and it's very out of the way, and if that's not what you're looking for, it feels almost as bad as that Ice Cave did. But yeah. Ice Cave at least leads to this cube, lets him go to another progression location.
Yeah. That being said, we still haven't seen the incentive item. We've seen a Procate +3, which is really nice for that red mage.
Got some dragon armor, got an opal shield. Once Papa finds this floater, he's turning in that tail. He is equipped to the gills. I don't know. I think at this point, I would say that Papa's probably got a slight lead. Rojo still needs to do most of his grind if he's going to catch up here.
Yeah, the other advantage that Papa has is his grind is a lot more abbreviated than what Rojo's looking at. Just because, that fighter... Alright, and there's our floater in the greed chests. Alright, so, like you pointed out, that fighter's got some really, really good equipment waiting for him to put it on as soon as he gets promoted tonight. So it's one of those things, there's a lot that he doesn't need in terms of levels. That equipment is going to go a long way. And especially with that red mage able to throw out fast and temper and having the levels to live long enough to throw out fast and temper. Papa really is strong enough at this point to beat the game.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to want for anything. Once he crashes through that first orb, the rest of them are going to come tumbling down. I forgot before, actually, he's not in go mode because he does still need that rod to get to Lich, even after he finds that Oxyel. So there's going to be a little bit more diving than I was originally thinking. Rojo, on the other hand, I think is finally ready to take that grind, right? He has the benefit of having casted Exit, which Papa is not going to have the benefit of, so he's going to find this floater, but he's not going to probably be on his way out of here. He's going to punch through the back door. Rojo's going to take his grind here, and then probably, once he's a high enough level, just continue on through and start lighting orbs.
Papa is warping on out of here. He's got...
Not what I expected.
I don't hate it. I
understand it, but not what I expected.
I mean, here's the thing. He's got a tail, he's got that floater in hand. He knows that he's already opened all the boxes, he's just going to go sprinting up the tower. But when he confronts Warmech this time, when he does confront his Warmech, he is going to be armed to the gills. And armored to the gills. Like, that Dragon +3...
The man's already got a ribbon. He doesn't need that Dragon +3, but oh boy, that absorb is gonna help.
Yeah, no, that absorb is what I'm thinking about when I say that Dragon +3. It ain't the elemental resistances I'm thinking about there. It is the fact that the fighter is ordinarily a tank. With that armor on, he is literally going to be a tank. And that opal shield that you pointed out before, like, just those two things alone, I'm not too terribly sure there's a whole lot in this game that's going to be able to do anything to his fighter without critting.
Oh no, I'm leaving him in that first slot for Kraken 2 at that point.
Yeah, because, I mean, on top of all that, you need that red mage alive. But yeah, Papa heading straight over to Melmond.
Get that Dr. Un to read a slab, teach him Lefanish. Make 2 checks with the bottle and the slab turn in. And then he'll be right back for Tiamat.
Yeah. Okay, another thing that I like about Papa leaving the tower now that I'm thinking about it, he's gonna be picking up probably the rest of his key items. That Warmech is going to be juicy when he kills it.
Right, he's going to get an extra 10% just from whatever the bottle turned in and the slab turns into. I guess that would be it, right? Unless he decides to go to Waterfall to get that Oxyel. Or if one of these turns into the Oxyel.
Okay, honestly, at this point, if I'm in Papa's shoes, I may hold off on going to deal with Sky until I've done everything else, just because, that extra experience gain, because every key item we find increases the experience gain by 5%.
I'm not
But
sure if he wants to travel across the world again just to get up to that tower, though. If he's already going to be in that corner for the bottle and the slab, makes sense to just drop off in the desert and finish this up.
I mean, that assumes he goes and does the bottle and the slab first, which he probably will, but we'll see what he does.
Seems to be heading over to Lafine now. Oh, nope, Gaia.
He's gonna do Gaia first. It's quicker, it's easier. It lets him see what the black magic spell is in case it's like nuke or something that he might want on his red mage. Slow.
Oh,
slow's
not
the
even
only
checking white.
What was that?
I said not even checking white. I don't know if that's red learnable.
It's not. So, the way I remember it is, when it comes to the red wizard spells, Onrax might be black, but it's not.
Alright,
So
I will ask for the further clarification on that.
Yeah, so Onrak is, you can learn, I think, the first slot white magic spell in Onrak, and the first slot black magic spell in Gaia, on a red wizard.
Ooh.
I didn't say it was a mnemonic that made sense to people who aren't me, but it is the mnemonic that I use to remember that spell slot, okay?
However you do you, you keep on doing it. Papa, it looked like rejected that white shirt. Did I miss that? He warped out. I didn't see if he actually took the white shirt or not.
Well, we'll have to trust the handy-dandy eyes of our tracker and chat, and
Power Gauntlet.
I think it was a Power Gauntlet +3. Oh yeah, no, that is going straight on his knight, and it is not coming off for the rest of the seed. That knight is terrifyingly robust.
So this unfortunately tells us, I mean, we know right off the bat that Waterfall has either the Adamant or the Oxyel for us. And then, or I guess it could be the Crown. We haven't seen that. It's going to be a chain that turns into the Oxyel or the Oxyel itself. And then the other half of this Sea Shrine is going to be necessary, because we still need to find that rod.
Now, we might luck out, and the incentive item in C is going to be on Kraken's side. I mean, unless you're into mermaids. Also, just diverting really quick over in chat, I agree with Wilcoliosis. Go Team Red Mage. There's a reason I generally remember what red mages get. Best class in the game.
So it looks like our grind has moved outside now for Rojo. Trying to find some dinosaurs. Slapping them down. Getting that juicy 4K. That black mage is getting pretty high. I think that he can die off at this point if we still want to take a grind.
I think that Ankyla was trying to agree with you there. Speaking of agreement,
Shot, I like that. That absolutely makes sense. That Gaia is the top slots, because you do have to get the Oxyel for Onrak in the vanilla game. So it would make sense that the permissions are set to the top, so that way those are the first ones that you encounter.
Yeah. Well, in Gaia, it's only the white magic that's learnable. Or black magic that's learnable. It's the white magic in Onrak that the red wizard gets, so... But I will point out that Linkshot, having commented that... yeah, there's a big sound desync. I honestly haven't noticed it for the last 50 minutes. But yeah, so it's one of those things like, with Linkshot, I assume everything you know about the spell system is complicated.
Alright, so out of the waterfall, we did get the Adamant, so we know that it's part of the quest chain to get this Oxyel, so we're gonna have to come back. Feels bad without that airship, but fortunately we did make the play to go to Mirage first and get the floater. Because going straight to Waterfall after Ordeals would have felt kind of bad. Now we got the crown. The chain continues. Is Astos going to have our crystal for us, or is he just going to give up the Oxyel?
That's a really good question. And I did see what he said.
That is the Oxyel.
All right. So I believe this means that what? Crystal has to be in C, giving us the rod.
And then we are in go mode. We have gone everywhere.
Alright, so I'm gonna see real quick if maybe Papa's audio is a little bit better.
Rojo making his way into Ordeals now. Going to, what are we going to find in Ordeals again? The slab. Right, so he's going to get the bad news that that slab turns into the power gauntlet. Might be kind of useful, but at 60 minutes, Rojo is not looking for temper, or rather for saber on his black belt.
Yeah.
Rojo is looking to go mode this.
Alright. So yeah, I couldn't hear Papa's, but apparently chat could, so I'll swap it back. And then go see about turning the volume up.
Okay, so it looks like Rojo is setting up again for his grind, this time on the gas dragons. We'll see if he decides to take this to 32 or for 42. At 60 minutes, it's a really tough call. You do have the support network in the double black and the white wizard there, or rather the mages, but I don't know, we've been shown time and time again that 42 is the magic number here, that going in early is very risky. Last night's race paid off going in a little early. However, it hasn't really held up through most of the spring tournament. So these gas dragons going down to a single hit by our man Slap. Papa is making the play into Volcano. Gonna have to talk to him about that damage flicker, but apologies to anyone. Just look away from the screen for a little bit. As we make our way down to carry, he is going straight there, so won't be much longer.
All right.
Rojo healing up and getting back on that grind life. PapaFoiz healing up, taking down carry. Gonna light our first orb just a little over an hour into this. I did not see him go into armory, so it does not look like he got that Excal +5. He'll just have to be happy with that Sun Sword.
Okay, 10 hits for 757. I think he'll be fine with it. Yeah, sorry if the volume got a little loud there, chat. It took me a moment to realize that I had the volume turned down on the commentary stream, so it was extra quiet for me. I'm an idiot. But let us know if that volume's good now.
All right, so Rojo absolutely committing to this grind because he's got no way out except through the pillar, or rather at the very end. So looks like this is definitely going to 42. That is risky as heck, though.
Oh no!
There goes that grind. That
no.
So quickly. I don't think he anticipated 4 of them.
The worst part is he doesn't even know that the Gurmedusas are there.
Not sure he's gonna want to take the Gurmedusas. He might still try on those gas dragons, maybe just not as hardcore. Maybe goes down to keeping one of those mages alive.
Well, he's got a bunch of caster items. Like, he doesn't have to rely on punching the Gurmedusas.
That's true, but if the caster item doesn't take it out in one turn, then you're sitting through 7 hits of a Gurmedusa. Not that it's gonna kill you, but the time wasted on that just might not be worth it.
Yeah, well, I think he's got a mage stick, I think. So he should be able to just burn them down.
Right. False Cat, thank you so much. We love this game too, and I hope we're making it enjoyable for all of you.
Alright, Papa again bumping into an eye on his way up. But he is dead set on dealing with a war mech.
I don't think anything is going to stand in his way at this point. Papa is just... He's in go mode in his head. Even if he doesn't have that rod here, he's just going to punch through everything until he finds it.
I mean, Warmech can still do some damage, but the fact that he already has 400 HP on his Red Wizard is very handy with Nuclear coming out turn 1.
Nuclear and Zap. So, on one hand, I'd be really scared about that. On the other hand, that's really good news.
Was that 10 hits for 100 damage?
Yeah, it didn't quite get through because it needs a little punch from the crit. But I recently learned that Warmech shares scripts with the last couple of Fiends in Topher. And so seeing the Nuclear, the Tornado, I think it was, and all that come out, that's going to be really good news that the second half of Topher is going to be
it's not the second half. It's both halves.
Oh, it is all 4 Fiends?
So it's Warmech, the 4 Fiend Refights, and Chaos are their own separate pool when it comes to shuffling scripts and skills and spell. So anything you see on Warmech will not be in Topher.
I stand corrected.
No, I mean, you were pretty much spot on. Like, Warmech having things is good and bad. Because it means it's pulling from stuff that Chaos and Kraken and Tiamat and Carrie and Lich, the other guy. I knew there was a sixth person, but
we haven't seen him yet. But there is that undead monstrosity coming up pretty soon once we find that rod.
But yeah, well, no, I was talking about Lich 2. Lich 1 doesn't exist. There's some guy in purple pajamas at the bottom of Earth Cave, but I've never seen it here.
Lich 2 is really Lich 1. But that's neither here nor 2,000 years there.
Yeah.
There are multiple Nuclears in the pool, but it still does make it... It's nice to see, or at least it will be for Rojo, to see that Zap is coming out, that one of the Nuclears is coming out. Because Rojo does not have ribbons on every party member, unlike PapaFoiz.
And yes, this is a forced Warmech seed, some hungry guy, and it is also a no Moss immune seed. But yeah, so that does also mean that there are multiple nukes available in the pool, and it is entirely possible for a fiend for both nukes to wind up on one fiend. We like to call those seeds the worst.
Papa looks like he's going mermaid side. No, just checking that front chest. All right, I was getting a little worried there. Definitely want to check Kraken side, especially on this party. Let's get through. Get Kraken out of here. Let's get into Lich. Finish this game.
Yeah. Well, it's just in general with this flag set, it's the better searching route. Because you have to go down this side anyway. You have to kill Kraken. Most of the chests on this side are, at most a couple of encounters between checks. You do have to deal with a few forced fights on the floor after the one Papa's on now. But it's not that much slower to open all the boxes here on Sharknado floor, as we lovingly call it, than it is to just get to Kraken normally anyway.
Right. So hopefully we find out what... Oh, well, we know what that incentive item is going to be. It's going to be a crystal. Ooh, and another ribbon. He doesn't need this one.
Yeah, Papa ditches that ribbon because he's good. So...
Another good tile here in the Gershark and the two big eyes.
So, Link Shot dropping a little bit of knowledge in chat as well. So among the scripts on the Fiends, there are 2 empty skill lists and 1 empty spell list in that final boss pool that we were talking about. That includes War Mech, Refights, Chaos, yada yada yada. So that means that of those 6, 2 of them will not have skills, and 1 of them will not have spells. Which is convenient.
We like to call those bosses punchy. Ooh, an even better tile in the worms.
And he still has
no
need for this. No, that Gurmedusa tile was the be-all and end-all of what Papa needed. And he is just rolling with it.
Rojo going into Waterfall now. He's going to find, what was that, the Adamant or something? Yeah.
That
would be the Adamant.
Yes, the Adamant, which is going to give us the crown.
Which turned into?
The Oxyale.
The Oxyale.
Shoutouts to Wildham, because I would not have remembered that. So, Papa about to get his water orb, because unless Kraken 1 has some nasty surprise, I cannot imagine that this fight is going to go against PapaFoiz.
Probably gonna... Oh, not even gonna power gauntlet on this one. We're just gonna fast that Knight. Sun +5, gonna do some work here. 730, come on.
Yeah, 1 more swing. We're done.
Getting that lock in there. We want 8 hits. 7's not enough. Ah, we're sticking with 7 here. So 3 orbs lit, but Papa's going to have to go back into Sea Shrine here to get his rod, which we now know is on the mermaid side. So it has a chance of being on the mermaid floor itself, or around TFC.
It could be in TFC. I think Papa's probably going to try mermaid first, just because the TFC floor, that floor between this fork floor and the mermaid floor, is spread out. Like, he might check 1 chest on the way down to the mermaids, but he will open all the mermaid boxes before he starts opening these. Okay, so he's gonna get 2 chests, because this is also the one right by the stairs here.
Rojo making his way down to Dwarves. Trying to get that Oxyale so he can start lighting orbs.
So... the nice thing about... Alright, there's our crystal. Papa is about to just fire off warps until he is back on solid ground.
Gonna try to zap his partner first, and then he's gonna warp out.
He's got a ribbon, it's fine.
So, Papa officially in go mode, grabbing that rod, going down to Earth. We're looking, I don't know, 117, 118-ish Topher. Assuming that there aren't any last-minute inconveniences. Rojo back on the northern continent. He's about to do his Sea Shrine dive. Gonna get the bad news that the item is not on Kraken's side. Not so bad news, but kind of sad news that Nuke rolls into the top slot here, meaning it's not Black Mage learnable.
Yeah, but it's all good. So, Papa is going to be through Earth Cave in about, I don't know, 2-3 minutes. And then yeah. So while Papa is taking care of business and Rojo is digging out the sea, this is the reason Papa went with the two-man strat. So the thing about the two-man strategy is if you can make it work, it is powerful for this reason. You just build your levels so quickly and go so far beyond what you need. But it also has the advantage of, making it so you don't have to dig as much to kit out your team. Like, Papa didn't need to know where that third ribbon was. He was happy to have. He probably would have been happy to see it if he had a third man, but he didn't need to have a third man, so he doesn't care. The trade-off, though, is you're giving up 2 of your actions per turn, and you have a lot less of a buffer if you run into something nasty.
Which we did see at the beginning of the game, right? Trying to get past those Quad X imps, trying to just get Garland down. Papa kept throwing himself at the temple, but once he got that ball rolling, kind of on Poppable? Can I say that? Is that a good pun? I don't know.
Yeah, that's a good pun, but here is the trade-off. We still have Topher in front of us. And Topher is in this randomizer, as I like to remind people, and I hope others do too, is the great equalizer. You can get into Topher 10-20 minutes ahead of your opponent. And if the dice just don't roll your way, if Kraken 2, pulls out his skill list that he only has a 12.5% chance of rolling from, and it's just nuclear swirl, inferno, boom, 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 you're dead. Or if you have a Tiamat that has a first turn nuke, and she's just always going to drop that nuke, and put you into panic mode, it can go south in a hurry.
Well, now we actually have a chance to see it in practice, because 1:15, 10 seconds, he is into Topher, just running straight down to that loot plate. We're going to start seeing our bosses.
If this is a soft Topher, Papa will be done very quickly with this party. If it is not a soft Topher, this is where the two-man strat runs into difficulties sometimes, because if you hit a fiend that puts you on your heels immediately, then you have a problem mitigating the damage when you are running the two-man strat. With his levels, with the scaling we have, we're unlikely to see that. But unlikely does not mean impossible. A nuke followed up by a strong AoE will immediately put Papa in a bad place. A particularly dodgy fiend. We don't have nuke, we don't have fade. A dodgy fiend that requires turns to buff up, that is throwing out damage, can cause issues. Lich is not going to cause issues. We have a +5 Sun Sword.
So the rub coming out, love to see it with that ribbon. Definitely defending it. Bane coming out, love to see it. And yeah, just going to be swinging at it, not even wasting a fast cast. 2 turns, Lich is down. We got Bane out of the pool of potential fiend disasters. But yeah, Punchy Kraken is going to be the issue here. It's going to be interesting to see.
A punchy carry can also pose issues. Carry has a lot of attacks. It's just like her HP pool usually means you don't see them. But if she rolls high with her HP, which is very likely with these flags... Okay, never mind, we're fine.
High absorb here. We got the knight doing 724 damage with his crits. Gonna swing again, probably take her out, and there we go. We got Rojo on the other side. Ooh, 9 hits, 888. And
Is this a stun
Kraken
touch?
goes down.
Kraken 1?
Stunned somehow, didn't see how. But Rojo has his first orb lit.
Mm-hmm.
Papa avenging Kraken, and then going down, punching him again.
Yeah. Rojo's going to need some help here, because you're going to need something that can kill that fighter, or that knight, to slow PapaFoiz down. And anything that can kill that knight is probably going to wax everyone that, doesn't just punch everything to death. Which is not necessarily good news for Rojo. But we'll see what Kraken 2 has to offer. Traditionally, one of the great gatekeepers of Temple of Fiends revisited.
So we come out with a fast and a saber via the power gauntlet. Kraken punch. Oh my god.
Oh my goodness!
That is nothing. And not evasive at all. That blizzard meaningless here. Doesn't really matter what Kraken does, because he's going down in this swing. Terminated. For a gatekeeper, I would have him fired from my community, because did not keep that very well.
Yeah, this is, we're just gonna need Tia 2 to,
do some crazy Tia things, but I don't know what they are.
I think
not it.
At this point, I think about the only thing that's going to slow Papa down is a double nuke. Like, I think anything else, he's just going to be able to just grit his teeth through with those ribbons. That is a very sturdy Tia 2, but she's not putting out the kind of damage that she needs to not die on this swing. Or the next.
Even with that +5, Sunsword just isn't pretty enough to get through. But 10 hits, 200 damage, enough to terminate Tiamat. PapaFoiz is probably feeling pretty good about this chaos coming up. See how he handles it. Rojo turning in that crystal to get the rod. Rojo officially in go mode now also, but needs this chaos wipe to have a chance to win this one.
He's going to need a couple of chaos wipes at this point, but anything's possible. Final Fantasy 1 randomizer can kill you at any time.
Chaos using Lit 2 back-to-back. Coop here, or Co-op, I don't know what his name is supposed to be. Now has 4 stacks of Temper. And the swing, 8 hits, 817. This chaos going down pretty quickly. Quad X, you're not going to do it. The imps can't do it. You can't do it. 7 hits, 1359. Now we're over base HP. This one should do it. There we go. Terminated chaos. Good game. Papa at 120.43, looks like.
I'll go check what the official race spot time is down in
120.44.
Alright. So that is going to be a GG for Papa. And we're going to see if we can get him in here to have a nice chat.
In the meantime, we've got Rojo going down to carry. On carry's floor, just walking straight there. Lava be darned. Bumps into a red dragon along the way. Not going to pose much of a problem here.
So yeah, that is the power of the two-man strat.
It is. I think it's highly reliant on finding that tile, but pays off with great dividends here.
But speaking of the two-man strat, PapaFoiz, GG.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, glad to see that the technical difficulties you were having didn't put you on high tilt.
I was definitely tilted after Quad X wins.
See, I was going to follow it up by pointing out that that's what put you on tilt, but nah, yeah, that was very cleanly handled, especially considering your choices in terms of party composition.
it was a mind game because I abandoned the massa on accident. I didn't know that was a thing, and I was like, this is what I've been practicing, and I've talked to some people in the community about it who are also agreeing that this is a very good strat if you roll the right kind of seed. And 55 HP Gurmedusas were the absolute dream.
Yeah, you love to see it. So yeah, trying to think of some of the interesting. Okay, actually, this was a good question. A question I had. So you finish Ordeals. You've done your grind. You get back in your boat, and no, it wasn't Ordeals. It was Mirage. No, it wasn't Mirage. It was Ordeals.
It was Ordeals. Yeah.
Yeah. So you opt to go to do other stuff instead of hitting the waterfall, and then you decide to go to Mirage over Waterfall. Was that just trying to avoid double dipping the on-rack area if, the Oxyel isn't at Waterfall?
Yeah.
Okay.
100%.
Alright,
I hate going to the waterfall if I don't have the Oxyale, like, ever. I even considered going to Mirage before Ordeals, just in case the floater was in Mirage, but I was like, that's probably too gutsy.
I mean, I believe that's what Rojo did, wasn't that, Shroom?
Rojo jumped in for a little bit of a grind, but he did have the cube early because the first thing he did out of Provoca was go to Ice Cave. So he had, once he was in Mirage, he was ready to go all the way up, or at least buy incentive items. But he decided to take a bit of a grind, and then he bounced out himself.
Yeah, as you can kind of see, I believe I saw you over in chat, Papa, so I'm assuming you have the stream pulled up.
Yeah.
Yeah, as you can see, Rojo went with the Black Belt Oreo for this run. And the spells didn't really land in his favor for attempting the cheeky Warmech kill. Like, outside of the Fast and Temper, he just didn't really have the, he doesn't have the nukes or the fades to cut through all of Warmech's resistances.
No, when I killed Warmech, well, and that was kind of part of the reason I warped out immediately, was I had, like, chainmail, and I didn't think that was going to be enough, but I had Dragon Armor +3 and Opal Shield +3 sitting in my inventory. I was like, well, let me just... it's not going to be a huge time loss. It's going to be a bigger time loss if I go try to kill Warmech and I die than it would be to just warp out, do the class change, get the spells, and then come back.
And that's what we kind of figured you were doing there. What were you going to say, Shum?
I say that it must feel really good to finally get that gear on and then get to Kraken 2 and have him hit you for 40 something.
I was like, thank you.
I've never seen that low.
No.
I mean, it felt like, I think that Kraken also might have rolled low on hit percent today, because that was like 4 hits.
Yeah, it was really, that was an easy Topher. Probably the easiest one I've seen in a while.
Yeah, which kind of ruined, I was trying to be like, yeah, the 2-man strat is really strong, but, if a fight gets out of control, you really don't have a lot of room to recover. And then you proceed to just get confronted with the most paper Topher I think I've seen in a while. Then it's just like, thanks, Papa. Really about the only thing that Rojo found that, kind of, you probably would have liked to have seen, there was a +5 Excal in the armory.
Well, yeah, that would have made it a lot easier.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is +5 Sun Sword, good enough.
Yeah, I've watched his other race, and I knew he likes to do the black belt strat. And as I was running, I was kind of like, other than, like, I think there was a 2-fighter tile in the Ice Cave or something. Yeah, like, there was no good, like, real good solo black belt tiles.
Yeah, so we were discussing that and saying if, Woat pointed out that there's a lot of item magic going around, so if if Rojo decided to just kill off everyone and take that Gurmadusa grind like you did, I think he'd find himself in a pretty good spot here. But he didn't seem to find the tile. He actually bounced out on the gas dragons after they wiped him.
Oh yeah, I tried to do those bad boys too. I was like, nah, I guess I can't do this.
Yeah.
However, Rojo
Alright.
now taking out Warmech and on his way to light his third orb. And we've got fast, no cheeky Brack plays. Got Invis 2, Sanders stuff. Slap hits for 705. Get those Bracks out.
Yeah. But yeah, so I'm trying to think of kind of other differences in how you two kind of routed this seed, because I think one big advantage I think you had is you were, because of the way you kind of routed things and where you took your grind, you had a lot easier time finishing things once you started them. You know, Rojo dipped into Volcano for that top floor check and then bounced out. He went into Mirage and, you know, only went about halfway. Went up, found the floater, came back down, and I think that took a couple of stabs to really get that ball rolling, because he wound up grinding on the mages and fighters a little bit. You basically just like went in, took care of business, and were able to just kind of march through a lot of stuff once you got that fighter and that red mage online.
It's the I mean, I'm not gonna say that the black belt is, you know, bad, because obviously it's not. If you a 32-42 black belt beats a fighter every day of the week. But the difference is I only had to grind for, you know, 6 minutes and at, you know, 4 to 7.5k a pop. And he didn't. And that was the difference. I got to level 28 so much faster, which is where I want to be, especially on B-side tiles. I mean, A-side tiles, I like to go to like 24, 25 because they're a little slower. But once you get to 28 with the fighter, you go just...
Yep, you're pretty much unstoppable at that point.
Just go do things.
Yeah, I mean, and that is the advantage of the fighter when it comes to that grind, is you have gear to make up for the levels you don't take. And you know, it's one of those things. The advantage of the 2-man is you can keep taking high value fights and still be picking up, you know, a decent chunk of levels. Because I think you stopped at like level 27, 28 and went all the way to, and I think you ended at what, level 33, 34?
Yeah, it's something like that.
Oh, which does remind me. So Papa, tell us a little bit about not buying soft on that fighter.
So, you know, let's not talk about these things. Was that an option at level?
Yeah.
Oh,
You had access to all the white magic spells, I believe, and soft was on that list. So
I just wanted to get some extra levels for my fighter.
I mean, yeah, it worked out for you in the end, but yeah, you absolutely could have just had soft to that fighter and picked that red mage right up.
Yeah, I went to provoke. I was like, oh, there's no soft spells, but I had the Thor hammer, so I was like, well, hopefully there's a lot of Karibe in the part of the encounter cycle I'm in, which there was, so that was beneficial. And they only had, you know, like 1 lit 2's worth of HP, so they were easy to kill, and that got me to like 11. And then I was like, well, there's no soft potions in Crescent Lake or Elfland, and thankfully the ship was in Crescent because I would have been really mad if I had to walk all the way back over to Corneria.
So, I did enjoy when you discovered for us that the elf doctor was just very bad at sourcing pharmaceuticals. I don't think I've ever seen the herb for sale in Elfland.
And I was
Like that might be my favorite key item placement, even above like any iteration of Lazy Dwarves.
Yes, that was just the lazy prince. He was like, well, now you know. The chancellor is really trying to get the prince.
Yeah, that I didn't say that during the VOD, but I guess that is the other interpretation, is that the elf doctor is just like, I mean, I could wake him up, or I can just pretend I don't know what would cure his illness, and crap, these guys know. And they are way too heavily armed for me to try and surreptitiously off.
So, Papa, getting back to the gameplay side of things, so obviously during the grind, right? You're feeling good about this grind. You found your tile. You're going to get to the mid-20s. How are you feeling on timing with such late orbs and that floater being locked in sky?
Honestly, I felt like I was behind the entire time. So, like, we had all the technical difficulties, right? I couldn't get on Racetime GG, Twitch was being weird, and then I changed all my passwords, and then OBS was being weird. So then we finally go to sit down, right? And then I go to play, and the controller I've been practicing with for the past 3 weeks doesn't work, and I'm just like, well... So that's why I kept running into the walls and stuff. But yeah, I never felt ahead until I killed Warlock, and I was like, all right, well, he was like thick, and if he took a black belt, to that point I hadn't seen any good grind tiles unless he did the 2 fighters, which was kind of risky because, you know, it's Ice Cave and you never know what's there.
Right. So, sorry, bring it back to the gameplay. Rojo, we see taking down Lich 1, who throws out a thunder that we didn't see the first time around because you didn't really let him.
I think we did see the thunder. It just... Papa has
Tickle?
2 ribbons.
Yeah, that's true.
That thunder hit for like 40.
I think he did lit 2 as well.
The guy likes his sky magic.
He's good. He's good.
Lich is not very good at being the Fiend of Earth. That is the takeaway from Final Fantasy I Randomizer. You can kill him with Quake. He likes to throw out lightning magic.
One day he's gonna have Nuke and Nuke.
Don't remind me of Lich 2 having Nuke turn 1.
Alright, let's see how this carry goes. We've got a lot of buffing going out on this side. Invis 2's white shirts, fast. We'll see how Slap takes him down.
Yeah, I don't think that she hit for very hard. Yeah, that was like 100 damage. Slap's gonna hit her for,
1100. Sure, why not?
Where was all the good magic? Because I stopped checking after
There
Crescent
wasn't.
Lake.
Nuke rolled level 7 on rack.
Ooh.
So that wasn't going to help. And I didn't even see Invis 1, if that was any part of your priority list.
I had Invis 1. It was level 2.
Oh.
Yeah.
And I missed it.
Yeah,
Wait,
no,
Maybe it was 3. I definitely had it, though, because I was like, I didn't have Roos. I didn't see Roos in any of the shops.
I think Roost was 6.
Yeah, Ruse was slot 1 and 6, so you couldn't have used it anyway.
Yeah, so I was like, if I can find Invis, then I'm probably going to use it. And then I felt behind, so I was like, well, I'm just going to, like, face roll this whole thing and try to do no defensive buffing, and it ended up working.
It worked! Yeah, like, it... So let's see if this Kraken cherry taps Rojo as lightly as he tapped you.
So Rojo going with Invis 1 on the black belt as opposed to the whole party buff.
So
Still fasting it, still gonna lock down Kraken. I don't think that he was highly evasive here. Temper seemed a little bit more useful.
I think he had a little bit of dodginess to him, but it didn't matter. Okay, yeah, that even with like a couple of layers of evasion, Kraken 2 punching a black mage and not killing it tells us everything about how weak that Kraken was.
He's just tired of beating up on everybody else during spring tournament. All right, so Rojo on to Tiamat 2. Are we doing a Masa check?
The cheeky Mazda check.
Because why not?
He's got 2 warp casters, and one of them will probably survive.
We've got gold.
1,532 gold.
This is 1,500 gold 2,000 years in the past, so inflation's got to kick in at some point.
Right?
Only if you leave it in the past. Actually, no, that
true.
makes sense.
We need a bank.
Obviously, Rojo leaves that money in the past, where Matoya's cave will eventually be.
And there's that 25.
Exactly. There we go. So yeah, Papa, I'm guessing that after your early game struggles, that Matoya's cave made you feel a lot better about everything.
I mean, I died 14 times going there. Nothing felt good.
I mean, you genuinely did not look like you were playing on tilt.
I after about the 7th death, before even trying to pull Garland for the first time, I was like, maybe I should bring a third-party member.
Who would you... Okay, let's take that hypothetical while Rojo's trying to get to Tiamat 2. If you had taken a third-party member, what would you have grabbed?
Oh, black belt, a black mage, easily.
Okay. That would have been a fun party, I think.
I was practicing it for a little while, but it felt slow, and my good friend Will Cleosis, we were talking extensively about the 2-man strats, and I will never not let the Maspian be in the pool again, that's for sure. Which I can see Shumbabi is playing the role of Will Cleosis in the race we commentated the other day, and he's spying on us because he has to race both of us still.
I'm not going to lie, that was a consideration. Medusa Pod representing, and we've got Wildhim here also on tracking, so we've got all of Medusa Pod kind of invested in this game.
Getting full scouted here, me and Rojo.
Speaking of Rojo, though, he has made it down to Chaos's floor, so...
It felt really good to see Cure 4 and Life 2 and 1 and 2.
Yeah, Wildham down in the behind the scenes chat pointing out that he is in fact terrified of tomorrow.
Nah. I haven't beat Wildham in a race yet, so he's good. He's fine.
Alright, so we got Fast coming out, 13 hits for 400 damage. We've got Invis 2s coming out.
Very high absorb chaos, but I don't think we noticed it because of how much you had crit through him.
I think we saw it on the first hit, but then that second hit and third hit so hard that it didn't matter.
Oh, now we got the Brax coming out? God,
Okay.
I would love this.
Okay, Rojo has been all about the cheeky strats this whole time. There we go.
1k
Rojo
hits.
Brax.
So that's about
Bracklands.
so that's about 1,400.
21, 22. None of these spells really matter. Chaos, a little bit of a pushover.
Yeah, if Chaos has something rude, you didn't get deep enough to see it, and I don't think Rojo is either. This next punch should do the job.
Quad X meaningless here. Brack comes out. Nothing happening. Brack comes out. Ah, come on, shattered it to pieces. Slap him into pieces. Terminated at 141. Oh, 45, we'll call it, based on that clock. I think the channel actually is down.
Yeah, unfortunately, the RaceBot channel closes 5 minutes after the race is done. And so, because of the 10-minute delay, we don't actually have the results.
Actually, Wildhim coming through again with a 141.48 being the official chatbot time. Let's get
And
our GGs out for Rojo.
who is sitting in the setup room. I'll let him know he can come on up. Rojo, GG.
GG.
Hey, thanks.
GG.
Yeah, GG to you, PapaFoiz. Nice time.
Thank you.
Yeah, so you and Papa kind of went for the opposite ends of the spectrum. He went with the fighter red mage nun party, and you went with the black belt Oreo party. So, kind of what was your thinking taking that particular group into? Is that your normal plan, or did the bonuses play any part in your thought process?
I mean, I guess I'm typically more comfortable with a fighter personally, like a fighter rainbow, or a fighter black white. Actually, is really more my speed. But I just have been seeing that the black belt is coming out on top a lot in these flags, so I've been practicing it a bit. The blessings weren't really that big a deal. I mean, it worked out really well that the black mage could use the X-Cal, but aside from that, there wasn't anything too crazy, I don't think.
So, Can you talk us through this ice cave at level 4?
Oh yeah, it's my favorite play. Like, so what you do, not to give away all my secrets, but if a bunch of conditions are met, which basically include you get some saving items, you get some heal pots, you get at least one house, and you get some decent magic. What you can do, and you don't have the ship early on, is you grind, not really grind, but you just take fights on the river, and maybe one or two in Ice Cave to get to maybe level 7 or 8, and then dive Ice Cave and hope for the best. Yeah,
and I do agree with you. Like, level 8 is generally, unless you just have ridiculous enemy scaling on, level 8 is usually my comfort zone personally for Ice Cave. Because you usually have enough spells to just barely skid through, and your melee has enough health to not kill over at the first punch.
Yeah, I didn't find what I wanted there, unfortunately, but I was pretty happy overall with how the dive went and everything.
All right. So as kind of the follow-up to that, the Mirage play. Shortly thereafter. That was, I assume, partially influenced by knowing you could check every box in the place, and as it turned out, you just about had to check every box in the place. But I know I personally like to have either, like, one of the high-level lightning spells or one of the non-elemental, like the Fade or the Nuke, in my arsenal before I attempt to go for that early Mirage. So what did you see that was like, alright, I can do this?
I don't know, I just, Floater shows up in Sky every once in a while, and they gave me the chime, they gave me the cube, I was like, you know what, I bet the Floater's in Sky. But I was really hoping it was just going to be in Mirage, and it wasn't, and then, 20 minutes later, I did a really inefficient grind on some mage fighters, and I had a floater, which I think is really what killed me here.
The timing of the floater, you mean, or the grind?
The grind. Oh, it was so slow.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate about those gas dragons also. In Ordeals, once you find them, it looks like such a good tile once you get that 22k on the first kill. But that was very unfortunate.
I knew it was risky because I knew that there could be 4 of them, and I knew that they could ambush me. I lost like a couple minutes there. I would say that was like a medium mistake. Like the huge mistake was the mage fighter grind. The medium mistake was getting greedy with the gas dragons, and then the minor mistake was just inefficient routing. I should have gone from Sky to Ordeals and then up around that way to turn in my floater. I think would have been faster overall.
Yeah. So yeah, the probably the biggest difference in terms of grind strategy I mean, obviously, Papa went with the 2-man, and that is a grind strategy unto itself. But he made that Ordeals play relatively early and found those Germadusas.
Yeah. Fire 3 and only 2 guys in the party. Yeah, that'll do it.
Yeah. And those Germadusas, I don't know, I can't recall if you checked them or not, were fragile.
Yeah, I took the fight a couple times just going through Ordeals, and I definitely was like, uh-oh, because, I already knew that I spent way too much time in Sky area, but after seeing, that there were probably better grinds, like, overall, I knew I was in some trouble.
Yeah, they only had 55 HP, and I had the Zeus Gauntlet and the Thor Hammer, so it was like free as free could be.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting because both of you felt behind most of the race. It sounds like Papa ran into a lot of difficulty with those Quad X imps early on.
Stop reminding me.
Oh, okay.
I died.
You know how things work in this community. If something bad happens to you, you will be reminded that bad thing happened
Forever.
for the rest of time, or until something even worse happens.
Rojo, I died at least 9 times before I killed Garland. At least 9.
I think I barely made it through. I can't remember exactly what happened, but yeah, I saw it once. Yeah, I mean, I was, like I said in the chat before the race, I was expecting Nuke Wolves or something like that. But yeah, you know what? Quad X Imps, that's a close second.
And honestly, it was very difficult to see who was ahead for most of this until that Medusa grind. And then it kind of started pulling ahead for Papa. But I don't think that the route divergence or the choices that either one of you made really set you apart. You chose good things for where your parties were at the time.
Yeah, I mean, while, clearly the Mage Fighter grind wasn't the place to be, I felt like I checked so many other tiles, I couldn't find anything that was acceptable, and so I decided, even though I'm going to have to run into Sky 3 times, or up Mirage Tower 3 times to do this, that, I better just do something rather than, wander around.
So was the double fighter not in the ice cave? Because I totally remember that tile.
Yeah,
I think it was. Yeah,
it was on the Frost Dragon tile, I believe.
Yeah, that would have been your jam because they were pretty squishy too.
Yeah, this was the 2 to 3 mages and 1 fighter in the Mirage tile, which more or less the same. I guess ice might have been a little safer.
Yeah, the fighters are one of the better. They're like 2 Agamas or something. They're delicious.
Yeah.
On that note.
Yeah, I think that we probably need to give the good folks at SpeedGaming their channel back. So, let's go ahead and get some final thoughts going. Rojo, why don't we get started with you?
I was feeling pretty good about how most of the seed went, aside, like I said, from that super inefficient grinding. But things happen. Rando gonna rando, etc., etc. Try to make better decisions next time, I guess. So yeah, I don't know where this puts me as far as brackets or plane race goes, being 1-1. But GG, PapaFoiz, and good luck in your next races.
Thank you.
Papa, that seems like a good opportunity to toss it over to you. Any final thoughts?
This is a Danny seed. Always feels good to do something and then have to fetch quest to get something else, to fetch quest to get something else, to fetch quest to get the rod to finish the game.
At
Danny,
least you had an airship at that point.
Yes, thank you, Danny. You're the best.
All right. Shum, what about you?
Well, I just want to thank our runners for putting on an entertaining show for us tonight. I want to thank Wild Him for tracking, SpeedGaming for hosting, Woat, thank you for partnering here in the comms booth. And yeah, thank you to all the viewers who make this worth doing.
Yeah. I mean, you're the one who jumped in to join me, so I should be the one thanking you. And, thanks to Wildham, who did an excellent job of keeping us honest when it came to these spells and where we found the good stuff. And even grabbed our class blessings for us at the beginning of this match. So, on that note, thanks to everyone. Thanks to chat for hanging out and being cool. Don't forget to follow the runners. Don't forget to follow the commentary crew. Don't forget to follow the SpeedGaming channel if you somehow aren't already doing that. And don't forget to join the Discord if you had fun watching this. All of the races get announced over there. If you want to jump on the tracker and help out with the broadcasts, we are always willing to have new people come in, join the community, help out, learn the game, yada yada yada, all that good stuff. If you are watching this on YouTube, do not forget to like, comment, and subscribe. But with that, I believe that we are going to go ahead and call it a night. There will be more races tomorrow all over the place, so be sure to check all that out. With that, good night, everyone, and we'll see you on the flip side.